Hello and welcome to my top 15 anime of the decade list. Before I start this list, I'd like to say that there are some rules. I'm only going to be using anime that both started and ended in this decade. So if you want to know why you won't see Attack on Titan, Naruto, Bleach, One Punch Man, that's because they either started before the decade began or are yet to end. So now with that out of the way, let's get started with the list. Coming in at 15th place, we have Hoseki no Kuni, aka Land of the Lustrous. This anime is full of lots of mysteries that are sure to keep you going. And it also combines CG animation with traditional 2D animation beautifully. I mean, just look at this AMV that I'm showing you. But not quite as well as a later entry on this list. Next we got Grancrest Senki. This show's got lots of factions vying for power, a bit like Game of Thrones. Lots of action, ranging from one-on-one fights to battles with armies. Some pretty interesting characters, but one of the things that put me off was it was just a bit too fast-paced. Like, if it weren't for its recap episode, I would have been a bit lost. It's 24 episodes long, and there was a major arc that ended around episode 16 or 17. Like, if only they stretched it out to 20 episodes or 24 episodes and then stretch the remaining episodes into a 12 episode season 2 or just a 10 episode season 2, this show would be a lot higher on my list. Now we got Taboo Tattoo. Remember when I said that there's an anime that blended CG and traditional 2D animation better than Hoseki no Kuni? Yeah, this is it. Whenever I hear this music, I want to jump out and start singing to it. I'm just going to let the AMV do the rest of the talking for me. Other reviewers will have you believe that this anime is all about the fights. Yeah, that's not true. It also has quite a bit of drama and political conspiracy in it. Up next we got Chain Chronicle. Not much to say about this one really. It's got some interesting magic concepts and team attacks and stuff, but it's only 13 episodes. Got a decent story though. Now we got the X-Men anime. Now if you saw what just happened, you know Cyclops is a much more interesting character in this than he is in any of the movies or the cartoons. And you can see how good the animation is, that's why you should watch this. Now we got UQ Holder. All I'm gonna say about it is it had some pretty interesting concepts, and we need a fighting game based on it. Now we got Zankyo no Terror, also known as Terror in Resonance. This is one of the most underrated anime ever in my opinion, possibly the most. It's about terrorism from the point of view of the terrorists. It's a bit like Death Note in fact. But I'd say it's actually better than Death Note because of Death Note's weaker second half. Up next we got Majestic Prince. This is both the first mecha anime I liked, and the first anime to make me laugh out loud. A lot of other critics say that they don't like Majestic Prince because it contains a lot of tropes of the mecha genre, but this is the first one I managed to watch completely, so it was all new to me, and also this is my top 15 list, not theirs. Oh yeah, and it has epic, and I mean epic, mecha fights. Now we got Death Parade. So basically after you die, you get judged by these characters who decide whether you go to heaven or hell. They get the dead people to compete with each other in games and tell them that the winner goes to heaven and the loser goes to hell, but what they're really looking out for is who's cheating. So it's a bit like Saw if the characters all had a much more depth and a much greater backstory and they went to much further lengths to try and ensure they'd go to heaven. Now we got SAO Alicization. Let me be real with you here, I absolutely hated SAO and SAO 2. But this season blew both of them right out of the water and out of the park. Like, if you showed me some of these clips that I'm showing you right now out of context, I would not believe that they were from SAO. Like, the only other thing I'm going to say about this is if you saw SAO and SAO 2 and didn't like them, you should still give this one a try. Let me tell you a little story about Dororo. Back when I had only seen the mainstream animes, people would recommend me samurai anime like Afro Samurai or Samurai Champloo, and I'd remember the most well-animated scenes in stuff like Naruto and Bleach, and I just imagine samurais in a medieval Japanese setting with a different color palette from Naruto and Bleach, and then I'd watch these shows like Samurai Champloo and Afro Samurai and I'd be disappointed. Then I saw Dororo and I was like, this seems familiar. Then I remembered it was what I was expecting of Afro Samurai and Samurai Champloo. Next we got Fate Apocrypha. Now, if you don't know anything about the Fate series, basically, they get a bunch of characters from history and make them duke it out. Usually it's a battle royale, but this one's pretty different. It's got two teams of, I think, 17 characters on each side, I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm a big history buff, so that's another reason why this is on this list. And this one is so much more unpredictable and has so much better animation than in the other anime in the Fate series, and that's why I like this one and none of the others. Coming in at third place, we've got Erased. So basically, this guy has the power to go back in time, but it kicks in spontaneously. Like, whenever there's a crime that happens around him, he gets sent back in time a couple of minutes or seconds, and he has to prevent what happens. Then, one day, his mother is murdered, and he has to go back in time to stop it. But this time, he's framed for his mother's murder, and he gets sent back all the way to his childhood, and he's also got to save a little girl who was killed while he was a kid. The first 4 or so episodes of this anime are a bit slow, but after that you can watch the rest in one day like I did. In second place we got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. This anime is so epic, it's the 5th part of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. And in the 3rd part they introduced this power called stands. A stand is basically a separate entity. It's a bit like a Pokemon, only you can't train it and you can't take others. And you control it with your mind or whatever. And if your Pokemon gets damaged, you also get damaged. So basically a voodoo doll ghost Pokemon, and the stand powers in part 5 are so much cooler than in the other parts, and the battles are so much more interesting, and in fact they're actually proper fights, not just one-sided beatdowns like the previous parts. There's also a lot less plot armor in this one. Lots of characters die, and it has better animation than the other parts as well. And in first place, we got Legend of Korra. Yes, I know many of you are going to say this isn't an anime, but Studio Pierrot did half of season 2, so it's an anime to me. For those of you that don't know, this is the sequel to another show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It delves more deeply into the lore of the Avatarverse, and the battles are more epic, and in terms of world building, I'd give this one an absolute 10 out of 10. Like, wow, I wanted to see more of the Avatarverse, but I had no idea that it had places like this. So yeah, like, subscribe, and share this video, and tell me your top 15 favorite anime of the decade in the comments. The reason why I didn't include anime that started before 2010 or are yet to end is because this video would be full of stuff that either ended after 2019 or began before 2010.